If you want to retire early, then there are a lot of things that you need to take care of first. Take it from someone who has been there and done that. Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and dive right into it. And with number one, the first thing that I'm so glad that I did before I retired early was I'm actually glad that I built up a regular taxable investment account. It doesn't have any tax advantages. I don't save any money by putting money in it, or I don't save money when I take money out of it. No, it's just a regular investment account. And I had a pretty good amount of my net worth in a regular taxable account. While it doesn't offer any tax advantages like a traditional account where you would get a deduction for the amount of money that you put into it, it doesn't offer any tax-free growth. No, it doesn't offer any of that. But what it does offer is something unique and special, and that is ultimate flexibility, right? You have ultimate control over what you do with the money that's in your taxable account, and you don't have to take account any special rules or early withdrawal penalties or anything like that. Here are some of the things that having a good amount in my taxable investment account at retirement allowed me to do. First off, one of the most significant things is that it allowed me to pay cash for the house that I'm living in now. When I first moved to Tennessee, I moved to a low-cost living area in East Tennessee, and I paid cash for my house. At the time, the offer that I made was $110,000 for the house that I'm living in now. And I wouldn't have been able to pay cash for this house if I didn't have a good amount of money in my taxable account, because I would have had to worry about early withdrawal penalties and extra additional tax if I was trying to take it out of retirement accounts. Another great thing that I was able to do was I was able to realize some tax gain harvesting in 2021. So 2021, at the time of making this video, was pretty much the peak of the stock market. I had a lot of gains that were built up in my taxable account. Since I had already retired early and I didn't have a full-time job, I didn't have a full-time income, I was able to actually sell my investments, realize that gain, say, hey, I made a gain on these investments, go ahead and tax me on it. And then I rebought the exact same investments. And there's no such thing as a wash sell rule when it comes to tax gain harvesting like there would be with tax loss harvesting. And because I was in such a low tax bracket at the time in 2021, those long-term capital gains that I realized in 2021 were taxed at 0%. So my tax return looks a little funny in 2021 because I have a relatively high adjusted gross income, but the amount of taxes that I paid on that adjusted gross income was very low because they were mostly long-term capital gains taxed at 0%. And now I have a new tax basis in my taxable investment account. And since I did those tax gain harvesting during pretty much like the peak of the market, now with my new tax basis, it appears that I have losses in my account over the past few years. And so that means that it can save me a lot in capital gains taxes in the future because I have a reset tax basis. Another reason why I'm really glad I built up my taxable investment account is that I am able to use it as my asset withdrawals to pay for my lifestyle now while I'm retired early, while I am creating my Roth IRA ladder. So my primary strategy for early retirement and accessing my investments in order to live off of them while avoiding a early withdrawal penalty because I'm under the age 59 and a half, can't you tell? No, but I use the taxable investment account. I withdraw money from that currently, and that is what I use to pay for my living expenses while I'm waiting for 5 years for my Roth IRA ladder to basically, be in full force. And one more reason why I am glad that I have my taxable investment account is that I still use it to basically transfer money into my retirement accounts. Now, since I am still making these videos for you, I am considered self-employed and I do have a little bit of earned income. And what that means is I am eligible to contribute to an individual retirement account or a Roth IRA in my case. So because I have a little bit of earned income, I can put a little bit of my earned income into a Roth IRA in the year that I made earned income. Let's say that I just want to put $2,000 into my Roth IRA this year so that I can qualify for the Savers credit, which I do. It's really easy for me to basically sell off $2,000 of investments in my taxable account, transfer it to my account as cash, and then just go ahead and put that right into my Roth IRA and invest in the exact same assets. So on the surface, it looks like I am transferring money from my taxable account to my Roth IRA, but really what I'm doing is I'm putting my earned income into my Roth IRA so that I can qualify for that Savers credit. Before I get on to number 2 on my list, I just want to say that while this video is about things that I'm glad I did before I retired early, I have another video on things that I regret not doing before I retired early. So make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to redirect you to that video at the end. The second thing that I'm so glad that I did before I retired early, it might be a little bit cliche, but seriously, this is very powerful. And that was that I was completely debt-free. Not the traditional sense of debt-free when someone says, I have no debts except for a mortgage. Well, that means you have debts, right? So I was actually completely debt-free because I had paid cash for my home. I like to say that the date that I completely declared financial independence was August of 2021. That's the date that I usually go with because, that's the month of my birthday and it's nice to have a nice little number when you can say I declared my financial independence at age 27. But besides that point, when I declared my financial independence in 2021, I had absolutely no debt. I had no mortgage because I paid cash for my home in a low cost of living area. I had no student loans because I am fortunate enough to have been able to use the post 9/11 GI Bill to pay for my schooling while I was in schooling because I served in the Marine Corps for 5 years. I had had no auto loans because I paid cash for the one vehicle that I have in 2017 for a 2011 Toyota Prius. And finally, of course, I had no credit card debt because I would never have any credit card debt. That's like financial management 101. Never carry a balance on your credit card, right? Everyone knows that. I've never paid a penny of interest, even though I use credit cards all the time. And entering into early retirement with absolutely no debt was very freeing. It really let me see, like, this is the kind of lifestyle that I could be living right now. I could be doing this. I could have no debt. I could have very low fixed expenses, and I felt very comfortable. However, I do have something to admit. All right, it's a few years later after I've been retired early, and now I do have debt. It's really kind of sad to say, but now I have six-figure debt since I've been retired early. Yes, it's true, guys. Now I have 2 rental properties where I have a 50% owner interest, and those 2 investment properties have mortgages on them. And so I am in 6 figures of debt now because I have these cash flowing rental properties. That might sound pretty crazy to some of you out there, but if you're a rental property investor, you probably know that that is just the name of the game. The whole rental property thing is a story of itself, but just let it be known that I am no longer completely debt free. Number 3 on something that I'm really glad that I did before I retired early, believe it or not, I bet you wouldn't have guessed this, was that I started this YouTube channel. I'm so glad that I started something that I could still be working on because I've really come to appreciate that some work in your life can be a great thing. It's not about, retiring early forever and never having to do any kind of work ever again. I don't think that is the best move to do, especially mentally, because work can make us feel productive, give us fulfillment. It can give us a sense of we are contributing something. And that is what this YouTube channel and what this small business allows me to do in my life right now. I now strongly believe that you need something to work on, some kind of work in your life, no matter what your age, even if you are retired. This doesn't matter if you retired in your late 20s like I did, in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, or your 70s. I think that you need something to be doing, some kind of work. And that definition of work can be very flexible, by the way. It can be very loosely defined. It doesn't always have to be something that is super lucrative. It doesn't have to be something that changes the world or anything like that. There is a very loose definition of work that I think everyone should stay engaged in, no matter what your age are, no matter what your financial status is. And that definition, I can't really put into words, but it is something that is going to keep you fulfilled, keep you productive, and give you a sense of meaning and fulfillment in your life. Here are a few examples of work: having your own small business, working just part-time at a regular job, doing lots of volunteer work, being a babysitter for your grandkids, you name it. All of this is some kind of work, and it can all give you a sense of purpose. Right now, On Cashflow is giving me that sense of fulfillment. And you know what really helped me out is if you hit the like button on this video. If you're enjoying this video so far, please make sure you hit that like button. It really does help me out, and I really, really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, now let's take a look at number 4 on my list. I'm so glad that I learned about the healthcare marketplace. Now, when I first retired early, this was pretty much like a brand new thing, right? It was very new, it was still being rolled out, and kind of the kinks were still being worked out and all that stuff. And regardless of what you think of it, it is something that is here and it is something that is available. So the healthcare marketplace, what I'm referring to is basically healthcare.gov, and this was created from the Affordable Care Act. And as it exists right now, basically the way it works is that if you are not covered by some other kind of health insurance, usually through work or through Medicare or something like that, then you could go and you could shop on the healthcare.gov marketplace. And if you use one of these plans, then you might qualify for what's known as the premium tax credit, which is basically a tax credit that is going to partially or sometimes fully eliminate the cost of the health insurance for that monthly bill. And you can basically get the tax credit upfront. It helps pay the monthly bill until you file your taxes at the end of the year, and then you work out the difference, whether you qualified for more of the credit, for less of the credit, or none of the credit at all. So you would just work out the difference at the end once you file your tax return. And I'm so glad that I did my research because it was actually extremely beneficial in my own life. So I am fortunate enough to actually be able to use VA healthcare because I served in the Marine Corps, but I do have my wife that would also need health insurance. And so this was a solution for that, the healthcare.gov marketplace. And because we are retired early and we have a relatively low amount of earned income, we qualify for a pretty decent tax credit that helps pay for a significant amount of the health insurance premium. So if I were you and I was looking to retire before age 65, because that is when you can enroll in Medicare, and you don't plan on working at a regular full-time job that might offer health insurance, if you're gonna instead do something that might not offer health insurance, definitely look into healthcare.gov, definitely do some research on it and see what your health insurance premiums would be out of pocket, while also possibly receiving the premium tax credit. I really think that overall, as far as health insurance is concerned in the United States, the premium tax credit is basically a game changer for being able to retire early. It makes it much more accessible because you have that super expensive health insurance partially covered by a tax credit. Now, before I move on to number 5 on this list, which is perhaps the most important item on this list, I want to know from you in the comments below. What are some things that you are so glad that you did before you retired? Or if you haven't retired early, what are some things that you want to make sure that you do before you choose to retire? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. Now, number 5 for me on this list, something that I want to end with here is I am so glad that I found someone that shares similar values with me. Yes, now we're not talking about anything financial here. We're just talking about life in general. If you want to become financially independent, if you want to retire early, a huge factor of that is what is your life going to look like for many years from now? Are you single or are you married? Is there one person in your family? Is there 2 people? Are there 4 people? These kinds of things make a huge difference on the trajectory of, your early retirement and your life in general over the next couple of decades. So you really need to take this into account. You really need to think about what your life is going to look like, many years down the line, especially if you're single now and you want to become financially independent. It's going to change drastically if you end up wanting to build a family in the future. Or if you're married now and you want to achieve financial independence, it's going to change drastically if you want to start your own family, and have children in the future. Just something that you really need to keep in mind, because you have to find someone who has similar values to you, because if something that is so important like personal finances is going to basically not align, well, that is something that is significant enough that can lead to achieving financial independence or basically never doing it. And that's all that I have to really say about that. But I do have more to say about things that I regret not doing before I retired early. I have a whole nother video on that, and I want you to check out that video next, okay? It's gonna pop up on the screen right after I get off the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time. Transfer money into my requirement. And that definition, yes, I have created, yes, I have, what's that word? Created.